Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jeremy Finn Physique Van Remo. Welcome to another edition of the Art of Female Muscle podcast. My guest at this time, she is a longtime competitor. If I'm not mistaken, she's like the second ever WPD pro in history, the first being Dana Lynn Bailey. So she's been in women's physique for a very long time. And she's also a very popular competitor, and that is IFBB Women's Physique Pro Trish Wood.
Hello,
Trish, welcome to the show. Appreciate that you're willing to come.
and thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, currently getting ready for the 2025 Masters Olympia,
Yeah,
and you qualified for that at the Clash Series show last year when
yeah.
you won the Masters 40 and over category.
Uh-huh.
And so, did a wonderful job there. I thought you looked fantastic.
Uh,
So,
yeah.
you're welcome. And I was going to ask you, I guess, for the first question, that show caused quite a bit of controversy in that Natalia shows up, that she's getting ready to compete at that show. Even at this is right near the Olympia,
Yeah.
where she had already qualified for that, and here she is at one of these smaller shows, and a lot of people were calling her out because of that. What's your take on that? Do you think that someone who's already got an Olympia qualification should step aside and let somebody else do it? Or if it's not breaking any rules and it gives you the opportunity to do it, go ahead and do it? What's your take on it?
Well, from what I understood, like just from what people were saying, that she was doing it because her sponsors require her to do so many shows a year. I mean, I understand that part of it, but I do feel like it's just allow somebody to, if you're qualified, just go ahead and hang it up and wait. Let somebody else, give yourself more competition at the show. you know I don't know. That would be my take on it, but I mean, I do get her point of view too, and that she's kind of had the requirement with her sponsors and stuff to compete. So I get it.
Hmm. I've got a little bit of your history here. It said you didn't even know about bodybuilding until you moved to California and you met somebody who older fans like me will recognize, Jamie Eason.
Yeah.
That she convinced you to go into competition, and
Yeah.
then from what I see here, you started off in natural organizations like INBF and INB, in which you also won
Yeah.
multiple pro cards in
Yeah.
bodybuilding, women's physique, and figure. But then you made the switch over to NPC and IFBB. Why the change? Why, if you've already got your pro card in these organizations that I guess you liked competing in, why move to something like NPC and IFBB?
To be honest, wanted more of a challenge because the shows, there's only like couple shows. Like the naturals just don't have very many shows to choose from. The natural divisions and organizations, there's just not as many shows. And I wanted to compete, and I wanted to see how I would do against these other types of competitors who were enhanced. I wanted to see, okay, well, where would I line up with these girls, since I'd already won my pro card in the natural organizations. And plus my stature, I'm so short. Like, I was too compact and muscular for figure, but then I wasn't big enough for their version of bodybuilding. I didn't quite fit into like their like box what they wanted. So I kind of was like, well, I'm going to try something else. I just wanted to try some different organizations. I tried all of them. I tried a lot of different ones. I mean, the IFPA, the INBA, the INBF, and I have pro cards in all those organizations. I have Miss Physique, I have figure, bodybuilding. So I tried them all, and I liked the challenge of the NPC because the classes were bigger. There was a lot more competition. There was a lot more shows. It just gave me a lot more opportunity to compete.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah,
That makes sense. So, you also qualified and competed for the 2020 Miss Olympia. What was that experience like? That
yeah.
you actually got to the biggest show of them all.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty cool. I mean, I that was COVID, so there were 8 shows that year, and I did 7 of them.
wow.
I qualified on points.
Oh,
So
that's right. The point system is still going at that point.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I had to really work my butt off to qualify. So it was a rough year. And after I did that, I had to take a hiatus because my body was like, nah, that was
Oh,
rough.
I bet. Eight shows altogether in a row. I
Yeah,
mean, many people wouldn't be able to do half that number. So just the fact that you have that kind of resilience.
yeah,
I was
it was pretty
sorry.
rough.
Okay. Now, phenomenon that's pretty common among competitors, I've heard, is post-show blues.
Yeah.
And I'm just wanting to know, how have you personally been able to deal with that or treat that over the years that you found? What's been the most effective way to deal with post-show blues from your experience?
It was tough, like especially after the Olympia, because where do you go from there? You go from the super high of oh my god, I made it to the Olympia, and then and then I was like, oh god, I kind of came to this like almost like a crash afterwards, and I just my body was like, yeah, we need time off, and it was hard. It was kind of like I had to kind of reevaluate why I'm doing it because it's not for me. It's not about winning or getting necessarily to the shows, all that stuff. It's the experience and the journey and my resilience, like in changing myself and testing my discipline and my strength, like because it's a mental. I mean, it's 90% mental. I mean, all of us can lift weights and diet and stuff, but man, it's like that mental resilience is really the test. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's why I love the sport because it tests me.
What are your thoughts on the current state of the women's physique division? It just seems like what I guess is now referred to as the muscle divisions, those being women's bodybuilding, women's physique, and figure,
Mhm.
those now seem to be being progressively pushed out of more and more lineups. Why do you think that is, and what are some things that can be done to improve that? That make women's physique so that promoters would be more interested in bringing it in rather than pushing it out.
I think that the line between these divisions is getting too blurred, to be honest. I mean, you could look at the lineup, and look at the bodybuilding lineup versus the women's physique lineup, and you can't really tell who's in what. I feel like there's not enough differentiation between the divisions now because they keep wanting the physique girls bigger and harder, and I'm never going to be the biggest person. I'm 117 pounds, you know, tiny person. So, and I'm only willing to put so much muscle on my frame, So, and I'm 48 years old. I mean, I'm more concerned with my health and longevity, and being able to compete for so long because yeah, I mean, I got my pro card in 2011. So, and that's how it's because I've been patient and I take care of myself, and I think that they're pushing they tend to push the competitors to past where it really should be. And then they create a new division to make up for what they just skipped over, like bikini, that fit model division that used to be bikini, and then figure, now the bikini girls are looking more like figure girls, and the figure girls look like, I mean, it's all just like it's all got handled, it's really hard to tell, to differentiate all the divisions now. So
Right.
yeah, I think they're just letting the lines get too blurred.
What speaking of which, what are your thoughts on Fit Model as coming in as a division? I've heard some people say, okay, give people a starter division to start with. Other people
that was
will
the
look at it and say, it's like, why is this here?
what
So it's like, what's your take on it?
bikini was supposed to be your entry, right? That was supposed to be because they're posing like the original bikini girls did. They're wearing the same suits as the original bikini girls did. They used to have their suits measured at check-in. They had to bring their suit. And this is when it first came out. They had to bring their suit. They had to make sure it was covered, enough amount of coverage on the glutes. That's what they used to do when it first started. They're posing and doing exactly what bikini used to do. They went way too far. They allowed it to go past where they originally had wanted it, And now they,
Hmm.
we better make another division. And then they create this other one. It just doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest. Like, I'll
Right. It
dial it back and make it what it used to be if that's what they want.
Right. I mean, I've seen this now for 25 years because there was a time that I remember there was only women's bodybuilding,
Yeah.
and every single one of these divisions, it's the same rationale for creating it, and it's just they're always trying to come up with, my humble opinion, they're always trying to cut back to 80s women's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
The reason being is because that's the look that worked.
Yeah.
That's the look that
Because,
was most accepted and such. And so that's why they're trying to do it. And this, with the fit model, is just another manifestation of it, I guess, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah,
So,
I agree with that. Because I really feel like if they would stay within their standards and then what their guidelines are for these divisions that they create in the beginning, we wouldn't have the problem. But then they keep allowing these people who are ultra shredded and all this stuff to win, and that's setting the standard. So yeah, as a coach, I mean, I'm a coach, we're going to bring them in how they're winning. So yeah, okay, well, they want tie-ins. They used to not want any tie-ins in bikini and all this stuff, and they started changing the standards what they wanted. And so then that's how you diet your competitors down, and if they didn't do that, you wouldn't have that problem.
hmm,
I'm not sure why they keep doing that.
yeah. You've said in the past that you like what we would consider the classic women's physique look. What did you think of someone like Sharonica Hinton, who has essentially what you would qualify as a classic women's physique look, getting top three placings? First, she wins the New York Pro last year, and then she places top three
Mhm.
next to Natalia and Sarah at the Miss Olympia last year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think the more that they can bring back that classic look, the better. I mean, I think that that's what it's missing. The femininity of the physique division. That was the whole point of women's physique, was to bring in to bring back the femininity to bodybuilding. By allowing us to wear the jewelry and the suits and the feminine posing, open hands. That was the whole premise behind it, was to take away the masculinity from the bodybuilders. Like, because it goes too far. It always goes too far in one direction, instead of just allowing a woman's musculature to be feminine and beautiful. They want it like ultra shredded and hard and you know bigger, big.
hmm,
So
yeah.
I mean, I would get my pro card at 97 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
even 100. Wow.
got my pro card. Yeah. And now I compete at 116 pounds.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I've had to grow more than I, had expected to, too. But there's only a certain point that, I'm willing to do, honestly.
Hmm.
So,
This is an interesting topic. I've seen that you're also very, I don't know if it's very involved, but you're involved in what would be called the schmodem side of women's bodybuilding. That you do. That's my term for it. It's like all the different stuff that you put together, like webcamming or sessions or
a
that
little,
sort.
I dabble
What's
in it. It's not something that I do. I don't do it very much anymore. I kind of got into it a little bit last year, just honestly to help fund my gym. Yeah.
hmm?
Yeah.
Okay,
A way to make some extra money. Competing's expensive. The sport's expensive, and when you don't have a sponsor, it is hard. It's hard to afford it. And then I just opened my gym, and it was a quick way to make some extra money, and that's
okay.
kind of why I started doing it.
So now, would you still be? Is your OnlyFans still working, or your her
Yeah, I
biceps and such? And
have it. Yeah, I still have my OnlyFans. I have a whole lot of content on there, but I do have it still.
okay.
Yeah.
And then you got into, how is it that you got into wrestling?
So I did a session last year with a couple. It was a guy and a girl, and I was wrestling her, and she popped my rib out.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I just was like, I need to learn what I'm doing, because I had no clue what I was doing. So I was like, I want to learn some techniques so that I won't get put in that situation again and get injured. That's why I started learning to wrestle.
Hmm.
So it was, and plus, once I started doing it, it was me and my friends, and it was actually ended up being just a lot of fun. So then we really just do it because it was fun. And it was a way for us to all just hang out together. We'd do it on a Sunday morning, and it was like, you know, it was just fun for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, speaking of your gyms, I guess, at one time you had two. One was your iron addiction, what I guess is one that you call the OG, the original gym.
yeah,
But now while we were talking, you said you pretty much closed that down and moved to the new one,
yeah,
which is Iron Addiction 2.0.
yeah. I closed the old one
So,
in September of last year. It became a lot. It was I found it to be hard to, not only just hard to keep up with both of them, but if they were under the same sort of like business model and the same that didn't quite fit where I was taking the brand of Iron Addiction. So it didn't really fit anymore. It kind of just they didn't meld together. They were two different price points for the gyms, and it just became like it just yeah, it became too like muddled. So I figured, I might as well close it and just focus on the new one and make sure that that one succeeds because that's the one that cost me money, you know. So I focus on my time on that one instead. So I went ahead and closed the other one because the lease was up anyway, and I was kind of at that point where I was just getting burnt out, between trying to compete and then have a life,
right.
outside of the gym. It was just a lot.
Now, do you also have a tanning salon, Glow Getter?
Yeah.
Did you just recently get that, or have you always had that?
Uh, so I opened that the same time as 2.0,
Okay.
same parking lot. So I do like joint memberships for those two things. Yeah. So they kind of go hand in hand. It's a tanning and recovery salon. So we do like cold plunge therapy. We do hydro,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and red light therapy and then the tanning, of course, spray tanning, all that stuff. So it kind of goes together, gym and, you know,
Now, what is red light therapy? I've heard that advertised in other gyms, but I have no idea what it is. What is it supposed to do?
So it actually is supposed to help a lot with not only like eczema, skin conditions. It helps with sore muscles. It helps your body to recover. It helps rejuvenate your cells. Plus, it also helps with like emotion. So it actually makes you feel good. It helps, with your mental state too. So there's a lot of benefits to it that they found.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I also asked this of other people is that if you've got new competitors in bodybuilding who are gym shopping
yeah.
and they're looking for a gym that's serious, one that they can train at, one that they can get ready for a competition at. Since you've had so much experience with gyms, what would you say would be a couple of green flags and red flags to consider when gym shopping? It's like, what would be a couple of green flags saying this is a good place? Would you really want to consider going here? And then also some red flags that would be like, maybe you need to look elsewhere, and such like that. So, what would be some advice you would give to people who are right now gym shopping who are new to bodybuilding?
I know for me, like when I go to check out a gym, I know I look at the equipment because I'm familiar with the equipment. I know what I like to use. I know what stuff costs to put together. And a lot of these big box gyms, they just buy the package and they don't care. I look at the way it's set up. Do they have all the body parts together? I don't want to walk across the gym to use, every time, every 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like I look at how it's organized, how it's laid out. I look at the people who go there. If people are just sitting around on their phones, if it's a lot of, honestly hate to say it, but young kids working out there, hanging out, because they don't want to go home, that sort of thing. I look at the community, the environment, the vibe, the music, all of it, because I'm not like a class taker. I don't. I could care less about having classes and that sort of stuff. So I think if you're getting serious into bodybuilding, you got to look at the quality of the equipment. How well did they maintain it? How clean is it? I mean, because some of these places are nasty, like gross. So I look at all that stuff. Like I notice, if they're not walking around taking care of their equipment, putting stuff away, cleaning, just I mean, there's some gyms I've walked in, you can smell the bathrooms from outside.
Oh my God.
God, what is happening in here? Yeah, like I gotta have that. I want to feel like it's sanitary, that sort of stuff. I mean, there's something to be said for like the grungy old school gyms, but for me, like I want to feel comfortable, and I like the idea of working out on something I know is not going to snap on me if I'm going to pull it down. People that maintain their equipment take care of it.
Okay.
So,
What's the typical training split for you?
I actually do legs 3 days a week. I have been for the past few months, trying to grow my legs since my last show. So I do 3 days of legs, and then I do 2 days of upper body.
Hmm.
So I split up usually back and shoulders and chest and arms.
Okay.
And I work out 5 days a week. Take 2 days off.
Oh, okay. Is
Yeah.
that the feedback that the judges gave you at the after the last show that you did that you need to build up your legs? Is that why you're putting so much effort into it? Or
Yeah, it was basically, yeah, just keep on because my legs had grown from the year before, but yeah, they were definitely that's always been my feedback. They've always been tough. My upper body grows really like a weed. Like I don't even have to hardly work arms and they're huge. So I don't know. It's genetic, I guess, but for yeah, legs have always been just stubborn for me. So yeah, that's always been something that I've worked on. So yeah, that's always been my feedback.
okay. Are you currently being coached by anybody?
Yeah, Jason Theobald, he's my coach.
Okay.
Prep. Yeah, he's been coaching me since 2019. So he's the one who took me to Olympia and he knows my body. I mean, I even took 4 years off, hiatus after 2020. So, and I came right back and we just jumped right back into the swing of it. I mean, we picked right back up, after because I was in the hospital last year and he, still worked with me through that, helped me put my size back on because I lost, 10 pounds while I was in the hospital. And, he's really good. Yeah.
Hmm.
He really
Okay.
is like out for your health. And that's what I like about him because a lot of these coaches, they'll just throw you on anything and just 1,000 calories and tons of cardio and all kinds of gear and all kinds of stuff like that. And he's not like that. Like he definitely pays attention, to what your body's doing.
So he's not one of these coaches that like has hundreds and hundreds of clients and it's like they get cookie cutter
Yeah,
stuff like that. He has more personal touch about him.
for sure.
So, okay.
He's definitely when you do your check-ins, he's looking at him because he's sending you a video, looking over your check-in while he's doing the video. He records it, so you actually get to see him looking at your pictures, talking about your photos, what he sees, that
Hmm.
sort of stuff, and then why he's making the changes that he makes, which I like. And then he adjusts the macros and all that stuff, and he's like, "All right, let's see."
Okay.
I like that.
Um, do you have a posing coach?
No,
So you design all of your own routines
yeah,
and
I've
such?
some posing coaching before, and um, I didn't really care for it. So I have my own style, and I'm just, I don't want to do something else that somebody else wants me to do. I'm just not like that. I've never been one to like follow what other people do. I kind of just do my own thing, my own style, my own thing. So,
Okay. So I guess I've just got a couple other questions for you. So have you experienced? What other green flags and red flags could you give in regards to coaching? What if people are shopping around for that and don't know where to turn? I'm well, green flag would definitely be the personal touch
yeah.
and
Yeah.
such like that. But what would be some red flags, things to look out for?
Um, if you feel ultra tired and you're not good and your coach doesn't do anything about it, that's definitely a red flag. Like if I told my coach tomorrow that I was feeling like absolute crap and I didn't want to get out of bed, we would have a discussion. Like it's not, there's some coaches, I mean, that are putting these girls on 900 calories and hours of cardio and just destroying their metabolism. And
Hmm.
that's definitely something that you shouldn't have to do that. If you're doing that, you just need to push back your show.
Hmm.
Honestly, I would never do that. I mean, for my size and height, I'm still on a good amount of food. I mean, I do a good amount of cardio. I'm at 2 40-minute sessions, a day. But, I'm at that, 4 and 5 week mark right now. So it's going to be a lot. But I'm still getting, 1,800 calories, which for somebody my size is a lot, you know,
Hmm.
117 pounds, 4'11,
Hmm.
tiny.
I guess I just have a couple other questions. One's in regard to gym etiquette.
Oh,
Like if you have someone like me who is not a bodybuilder sees you, I mean, they're interested to talk to you, but they don't want to interrupt the process. What are some things that can be done in that regard? It's like if we want to just say, "Hey, you think you look great," or if they just wanted to talk to you. I mean, but you're in a zone, and it's like you're doing balls to the wall with the iron.
right.
What would be some just advice on gym etiquette when it
Uh,
comes to dealing with bodybuilders in the gym?
That's a tough one for me right now, to be honest, because, I work out at my own gym and everybody knows me there and they all want to talk. So one of my employees actually made me a sign that says, "Do not disturb Olympia in progress." So, no, for me, I would say if the headphones are in and they're not making eye contact, just don't go up to them.
Hmm.
Just, wait till they're, done getting their bag and getting their stuff or getting off a machine and done with it. Between,
Okay.
yeah, if they're actually about to jump on a machine, don't bother them. But if
Hmm.
maybe they've finished their set, they're drinking their water and they're chilling, maybe on their phone scrolling, yeah, say you can. That's a fine time because resting. But definitely not when they're in that zone of, okay, I'm about to jump on here and get it, and yeah, you don't want to do that.
Okay. I guess to wrap it up, just one question in this regard. Say you've got a brand new competitor, someone who, like yourself, at one time was brand new to
Yeah.
bodybuilding, and they're starting out, they're not exactly sure what to do. And with all the experience that you have now, because you got at least 20 years experience, not just training, but I mean also in competing, is that also what advice would you give them in regard in what I mean by that is a couple things. What encouragements would you give them as they're in their bodybuilding journey? What are some things that you would encourage them to strive for or things that to look forward to? But also, what would be some warnings that you would give them about pitfalls to avoid or like mistakes that were made somewhere along the way that they may not have any idea are coming? Because we've all got an idea as to what we all in a fantasy of what something new is going to be like until we're there, and then the reality hits, and it's not exactly what we thought. So, what would be some encouragements, and what would be some warnings that you would give to brand new bodybuilders out there?
I would say the biggest thing is really research your coach and get a coach. Don't try to do it by yourself because I don't even coach myself. I would be way too hard on myself. So it's good. You need that extra set of eyes, but you got to be careful about who you pick because there's a lot of quacks out there. People have competed like twice, and oh, I'm a coach now. Make sure they're qualified. Make sure that they've got not just like the accolades, but the experience that they've coached people who they've coached. Get some references even, and find out what their current clients think about how they're being treated, and also what their process is. I meet with all my local people in person. So for me, I like the hands-on stuff. I want to see them in person. I want to pose with them in person, and that's important to me and a lot of my competitors. But I would say just starting out, just really learn to listen to your body because the first year is the hardest. That's the very first season. That's the hardest one because your body doesn't know what the what the hell you're doing. It's like what are we doing? We're not supposed to be this lean. We are dying, and everything tries to slow down. Your body's trying to slow down. And you have to mentally be strong enough to fight against that and push past it. But you have to know where that line is of what's too far. And I think that's, people got to learn to really listen to their body and be in tune with it before you kind of start this journey, like and have a good relationship with food, because the food is the hardest part. That's the biggest mental part of it, because I think, oh, I can't go on vacation, I can't do this, I can't do that. But I went to a pool party this weekend. I had brought my food. I have, and even my, you know, friends, they know what I eat. They even help me, cook food for me and stuff, measured everything out. You just have to wrap your mind around the fact that it's a choice and that it's something that you're choosing to do. Nobody's making you do it, and it's something that you should try and enjoy the process and enjoy seeing the changes in your body and what you can accomplish mentally, because that's the biggest part. Is, I mean, the physical is obvious, but the mental toughness and strength that you get from competing and being disciplined and strict, and you know having, like, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to eat that, I'm going to stay on this plan, because you know having that goal, I mean, it really builds a lot of character and a lot of strength in people.
Hmm.
So I would say the biggest thing is learn to listen to your body, and understand that you're going to have weak moments, but learning to say no and be stronger than those moments, that's really important.
Hmm.
So
Well, I want to be respectful for your time, and thank you very much for coming.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate everything that you've shared here, because this is a learning experience for me as well. The more people I talk to, the more
Yeah,
I learn about this, and I've been interested in this now for 4 decades, and always interested in finding out something new.
yeah,
So,
we all are a little different, aren't we?
yeah, we are. Well, wish you the best of luck at Masters Olympia. Hope things go very well for you there.
Thank you, I'm excited. I'm excited just to go to Japan. So yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been another episode of the Art of Female Muscle podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Femme Physique Van Remo. Thank you again, Trish, for being a guest here, and we will see all of you later.
Thank you.